You and I have probably watched every Tim Tszyu fight. He did not look like Tim Tszyu at all from the opening bell.
Honestly, that decision not to stop the fight then and go, no, he can't see, he can't finish this fight.
It's not that they're unbeatable, but it's bad day. All right, g'day everyone. It's all about boxing today, Mertz, and sadly, it's not probably the story we hoped we were going to be discussing. A very, very bad day for Tim Tszyu in Australian boxing yesterday. Pretty hard to watch. I never really understood why he was such a short price favourite. It was like $1.16 to $5, which I didn't understand with a guy that hadn't lost a fight in 10 years or hadn't lost a fight at all. But where do you want to start off with a really tough day for Australian boxing?
Yeah, but I think it's more that he hasn't fought anyone the caliber of Tszyu or the caliber that Tszyu was supposed to be. Honestly, I don't even know where to start with this. It's kind of like the worst I've ever seen Tim Tszyu fight. Like, what were his tactics? What was anything going on? Like, this fight has just set it, and Peter Bedell said it on the main event coverage. It's set him back 2 years at least.
This didn't go according to script. It was a little bit different. I felt unbelievable, I'll be honest with you. Felt unbelievable. I had a great prep, so he got me, man, and he was a better man on this night, and we live and we learn.
At least 2 years. He has to fight his way all the way back. It's basically back to square one. Like, We're looking at Zerafa.
Yeah.
Why he shouldn't be ever looking at Zerafa again. Zerafa is not in the same, stratosphere as him.
No, I'm going to say the same thing about Zerafa. The Tszyu family should never have had anything to do with Michael Zerafa, and I think now that is his best path back, is to fight an Aussie in Australia with home fans, feel all nice and comfortable, and if he's anything like his normal self, he will completely outclass Zerafa, and he'll get a win, and hopefully he can go on from there. But no, I agree. Tactically, it just seemed to be sort of walk forward. He didn't have any of the guile. He didn't. Sean Porter was saying, "Get down in your stance." He didn't do any of that.
He was leading with the chin. He was just like, "Hit me."
Yeah. As soon as he got that glance on the head, and there was no blood, there was nothing going on. You think, "Oh my God, he's rattled." So look, we've talked about this before with anyone in the combat sports where they have a bad loss, and it can either ruin their career, they can be done, or it can take them a long time to try to get anything back. Like once. Even though he was so brave and he fought on so well in that fight, to be covered in blood, you're wiping blood off your face the whole time, you're getting beaten up and still showing a lot of bravery or whatever, there are scars from that. And as soon as he thought he got glanced on the head again, he's like, holy shit, it's happened again. Have I got a cut on my head? And he never looked right. I don't want to take anything away from Bakhram, who looked incredible. He's got a lot of power. He looked a lot bigger and a lot stronger than Timmy did. But you and I have probably watched every Tim Tszyu fight. He did not look like Tim Tszyu at all from the opening bell.
Tim Tszyu style really came to the fore in that Tony Harrison fight that was in Sydney. He actually looked quite well matched against Harrison, but over the first 3 rounds or 4 rounds, he really got himself into the fight. And then he just overpowered him. And that's where Tim has been the best. He's been really well conditioned, and he's really taken the fights on in the later rounds. What he did yesterday, he just came forward, led with the chin, wanted to knock him out in 2, maybe 3 rounds. It just really didn't look like Tim Tszyu. He needed to go back to what works for him. There are other fighters in the world who come out and they fight against whoever, the best fighters. They fight like themselves. And you need someone else to come out and try and beat them. Tim at his best, I reckon he would have won yesterday, Tim at his best, but he was absolutely nowhere near it.
Well, I don't even know how you can say that, because we just didn't see anything, and Bakhram was so dominant, and we didn't have a chance to see what Timmy could be like because he was so far below. And I really wonder about the mental scars that he brought into it, and also the physical one that he's got on his head, but it seemed more mental. And also he didn't seem to expect Bakhram's jab. And the commentators were saying, we didn't expect these tactics. Everyone was sort of thrown by it. He had a reach advantage. It's like, you should have considered he was going to bring that aspect to the fight.
They were saying before the fight that Bakhram only landed about 19% of his shots. They were saying that he was wildly inaccurate. So I think that may have been what it was, that Tim thought, if I can get in, I can unload more than he'll unload on me. But he was so precise. He was just landing everything.
But what's a taller fighter do? They're going to lead with their jab. But what did Fundora do?
I
Like
don't
it was a
know.
key tactic where Tim wants to get inside and use his speed and power, and just had no chance.
That Fundora fight, like, Tim was so close. Oh, honestly, that fight against Fundora, he was all over him in the first 3 rounds, and he got that little cut that bled it over his eyes, and he had to go back into his shell to just survive the fight.
Well, pretty big cut. Pretty big cut.
It was a decent cut. It was a decent cut.
Yeah.
But honestly, that decision not to stop the fight then and go, no, he can't see, he can't finish this fight. We can just go away and bring it back, fight again when Tim can actually fight. That decision is going to haunt him for so long. I don't know if he makes it back because he now needs to be perfect to get himself back there. It's just such a disappointing. It's so disappointing. I was so deflated after it. It just like took all the oxygen out of the room. It just really like winded me.
From the start of the fight, to me, very quickly, it seemed kind of inevitable he was sort of outmatched, or he was getting, maybe the power was really rocking him, and seeing him go down so many times, and then you could see that he was rocked. Like, definitely the knockdown before the towel being thrown should have been the end of the fight. It could have been even before then. He was
honestly the third knockdown in the
second round to get out.
That should have been done. That should have
been called. They gave him more chances than they should have. We often think fights are stopped too quickly, so you can see why they wanted to give it as much time as possible. But he was gone.
I get it. It's a world championship, and you should just allow them to go out on their sword. But he was not stable on his legs. His eyes were back in his head. He was not there. He was not clear. Doctor should have called it even.
And I think you're right that it's not just he'll sort of look back on it for a long time, the Fundora fight. He'll look back on it forever, and that could be the moment that literally ruined his career. And we saw enough that this guy, I don't want to talk about him in past tense already, but you know, we saw how good he could be, and to have too much courage and maybe his corner not being smart enough to go, we should stop this right now and think about the permutations of it all. Mm-hmm. To fight through that and lose, there's clearly some mental scars from that for me. The way that he was touching his head and thinking, and straight away you think, oh my God, he's fucking rocked again. It's on his mind. He's only 29, which is basically kind of a baby in boxing. You're pretty young. So a lot of people would look at this and go, oh, what are you talking about? He's got years and years to go. But if you don't recapture what you had mentally, you are finished as a boxer. I was going to say the same point as you about Zarafa, that I never thought his name should be uttered anywhere near a Tim Tszyu. He's nowhere near the class. You know, please just forget about it in terms of Aussie boxing. It now feels like the right way to go, to try to get some confidence back, get another W back if you can, and then hopefully recapture some of the best. I had one other thought, that I wonder if the Kostya thing didn't help. I wonder if he's
I 100% agree. Yeah.
He's had a chip on his shoulder. He's been angry. I remember after one of his fights in Australia, he said, "I'm Tim Tszyu. I'm not Kostya's son." And I thought, "No, come on, dickhead. You should embrace that." But he was trying to do his own thing. And now they've come back together, and he's in the camp and he's in the corner and he wants to do Dad proud. I wonder if that got in his head as well.
See, I don't even mind that type of stuff. Like, learn from your dad. He's a world champion. He's an undisputed world champion. Take everything you can learn from him. But when they went before the fight and Kostya went, oh, I haven't been to any fight after his first one when Tim almost lost, and this is the fight that he comes to, and Kostya was nervous, and Tim had a big emotional hug with him and everything before the fight. Tim is an Iceman. He is one of those guys who just does not feel when he gets there. I want to Terminator-like go through people. The fact that Kostya gave him that big emotional scene before, give him a big hug and everything, I really don't think that was the right idea. I reckon Kostya, even if he was in Florida, he should have gone and watched it from a pub, because
that's what I mean. I think it sort of rattled him. I think it got inside his head. People think we're trying to make excuses for him, which I'm not. He got beaten, but the mental approach to it, more like, Kostya, I'm making my own way, probably helped him in his career. But I think now, if Kostya's going to be part of it, he has to be all in. which I can't see him doing. But I want to see him now being part of all camps and lead-ups and the whole thing. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. He's got his other family. He lives in Russia, all the rest of it. But it's like be all in or not at all, because we can't have emotional reunions with his head before a fight that's so big. The other thing I wanted to say is that I've started to get very worried anytime someone I like fights a Russian or a Kazakh in any sport. And just in a general sense, UFC, it's kind of started with Khabib for me, and how ruthless that bloke was, and how incredible, you feel like they train in the ice and the snow, and it's like Rocky. It's like Rocky 4 over and over again. But instead of being able to show that even Drago can bleed, it's like these blokes don't bleed. And we're seeing a whole wave of them coming through UFC. And now we're seeing a bit of it in boxing. And I know that Bakhram's been sort of off to the side a bit and maybe not taking on the big fights, but he had, 22-0 or whatever. He's 22-0 and 10 years undefeated. I think he showed yesterday that he's pretty legit. It's not that they're unbeatable, but there's like a factory over there that now every time they get in the ring, I wouldn't bet against them, put it that way.
Russian machine never breaks, It's just, it is so true. They are ruthless and made out of different stuff. You know what? I will give it a little bit to Tim in that first round. He landed a couple of good shots, and then he landed this uppercut in the second round out of nowhere after being knocked down twice. And I was like, have you just turned this fight around? Obviously, he didn't.
No.
But you just look at how Bakhram took it. That punch, that uppercut, he went right back, head whiplash and everything. Looked like nothing.
Had no impact.
Looked like nothing.
I was the same as you.
They are just so tough.
It just went, holy that punch was incredible. No, it made absolutely no difference.
And it was a good punch. It wasn't like, you didn't quite nail it or anything. No, he nailed it. That was the best punch that he did in that fight. But
definitely. And he did land a few others, but they didn't seem to have any impact on him. And like the commentators were trying to say, is he back in it? Is he back in it when he'd land something? But Bakhram would just come back with double. I mean, the punishment was severe.
I just can't believe that they would go into that fight thinking that they were going to win it so easily. That's the only thing. That's the only. But he's had so many fights like that, and he doesn't start like that.
Yeah,
he doesn't do that. He doesn't. He still fights his own fight. He wasn't fighting his own fight. Why would you do that? I just have no idea. It doesn't make any sense at all.
The tactics were all wrong. I feel like they underestimated Bakhram. I think there might have been some arrogance as well in the preparation and in the way that he fought.
I reckon he thought that was the easy belt to win back.
Yeah. Look, I don't know about you. I never thought that. I never got swept up in the hype that he's just going to kick these guys' ass. It never felt like that to me. I was actually kind of intimidated by him. Even everything, the way he acted, he was just so cold and calm and collected. And I just thought, this is going to be a real fight. And if Timmy doesn't have it all together, and that's the worry, because you had two other fights that got cancelled because of injuries and whatever, two other opportunities. Even weirdly, the ring, it looked like, were they fighting in like some small stadium?
It was
like
dingy as.
Yeah. And I was like, is this really it? A lot of it just didn't feel right. Yeah, it didn't feel right, didn't look right. It was over far too quickly and actually should have been over sooner. So, look, I won't completely write him off. I'm really worried about his career, but I think he has to go right back. He has to eat a load of humble pie, train his ass off, basically take on someone he knows he can beat, and start that slow road back.
Yeah. There's a thing in boxing where if you lose to Fundora, everyone went, wow, like, Tim, what an effort. You lost, but you should have won because it was only because of the cut. So courageous, so brave to stay out there. A loss like this is not that loss. So he lost again, if he went down on his sword, 12 rounds of just absolute war and lost 116, 114 kind of thing, and it's that close and so tight, you go, okay, wow, yeah, Tim, you're like, okay, you put everything into it and you got the L, but you still got the respect. This is one of those, you lose the respect of everyone. He was being talked about a potential fight with Terence Crawford, about Errol Spence, about Canelo. He's nowhere near this.
They're all gone.
Yeah, they'll be retired by the time he gets back. Honestly, He's up that part of his career. Those are the big money. That's the big money where it is. And he said he wants to be a prize fighter. They're the fights he just lost.
No, we love him. Look, Matt, I grew up with Kostya, who's still probably my favorite boxer of all time. You know, the Zab Judah, I can tell you where I was, where he knocked him out. You know, just incredible stuff. I at first thought this Tim Tszyu, he looks a lot like his dad, but I doubt he's going to be able to box anything like him. And then he made us believe, Mertz. He made us believe. And for 4 rounds against Fundora, was looking like he was taking it to the next level, undefeated, all the rest of it. This is just a massive, massive step back. And yeah, I think he's got to take the long road now. If he's any chance, if his career's even not finished, which it may well be.
As a football fan, you should know this. It's the hope that kills you.
But he's got to go back to a small stadium, 95% Zoo fans, kick Michael Zarafa's ass, send that bloke into retirement, you know, and then work his ranking back up. But it's bad day.